Brittney Griner remains in a prison or a jail of some kind in Russia, right? We all know that. So Brittney Griner, and you wonder, like, man, I know that name. She was an NBA champion. A WNBA champion. She led the WNBA in scoring. That's twice. She's led the WNBA in block shots 8 times. 3-time first team All-WNBA, 3-time second team All-WNBA. She's been their Defensive Player of the Year twice. 7-time WNBA All-Star. She also has won the Russian League 3 times, the Euro League 4 times, some of that time playing for a Russian team. She won the national championship in college. So if we're going to find a parallel for Brittney Griner, who would that parallel be? Buyer, kick that around in your brain. Jay Stu, do you have any, like somebody who at 31, she's not as dominant or seen as dominant as she used to be, but a consistent all-NBA caliber player who's now coming into kind of the second phase or phase 2 of her career?
Paul George.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I was just about to say Paul George, and John Ramos yelled from the background, Paul George. What do you think about that?
I think she's better than Paul George, but I'm willing to listen. Buyer, do you have a parallel?
So it would have to be current NBA.
I was thinking Karl Anthony Towns, but I think she's actually way better for women than Karl Anthony Towns.
I think it would have to be an all-star starter that is right now, because she would be one of the top 10 players.
Yeah.
And she's not. And then you're thinking of maybe, how about James Harden?
Okay. But she's actually won. He is not. But yeah, there's some James Harden there. I got it. I'm looking at the all NBA teams. I don't, Kevin Durant. I don't think she's as good as Kevin Durant. More accomplished than Joel Embiid.
Yes, but Embiid's career's got more to go. I don't think Durant's would be far off.
Okay. What would happen if Durant was locked up in Russia?
I mean, it'd be a enormous, story.
Why is it? Like, here's somebody who actually plays professionally in Russia. So, and I don't know if anybody actually pays taxes, but there's some amount of tax dollars that are owed because of her, not by her, but by her team. She's one of the great players in the WNBA. No one would argue with that. And, yeah, there's a big push from the WNBA and some from the NBA. I mean, look, the easy low-hanging fruit, and I do think it's a reality, is, if you want to tell me how important the WNBA is and their players are, that's great. But, like, between the, hey, why are we flying commercial, to there's nobody there, to one of our best players ever has been in jail for 2 months for some trumped-up marijuana charge, and we're looking into it. Like, even if it was Paul George, not Kawhi Leonard, and I think she's actually closer to Kawhi Leonard than she is to Paul George. If Kawhi Leonard was locked up in a Russian jail, he would be out that day or early the next morning. Correct? And is that fair?
Yeah. I don't know if the Russians would,
That's a little
budge.
fast.
Yeah.
You think a little fast?
Yeah, the next day I don't. But definitely he would be home by now. I agree with that. But not. I don't think the next day. I think it might be a little bit longer. Than that.
If we're talking about the notoriety aspect of it, they are more well known, which actually would probably make Russia be more steadfast in what they wanted back.
Yes, but we'd be more reactive in getting him back. We want to get her back, but I mean, I can't. They wouldn't play any NBA games, right? Like if it was right now, and Kawhi Leonard went to Russia, and they found some weed in his bag, Well, they wouldn't play an NBA game. Wouldn't play.
So they would boycott the games
No
until
question.
they can. That I think is a valid point. Yeah, I think there'd definitely be much more pressure.
And I'm not calling on. Please don't think I'm calling on the NBA to boycott because, she's in a Russian jail. I don't think that's their job. I'm just trying to lay out for people the reality of it. I'm not the one who decides what you care about. I can't make you care about a sport anymore. I'm only reacting to the data. And the data tells me nobody cares. It's really sad. The WNBA wants her back. Her family wants her back. Some NBA people, and Adam Silver, but there's literally no leveraging of anything to get her back. I find it fascinating.
And I don't know what our government's doing. They're not really updating us. But I did see a story, I don't know if you guys saw it like last week, where there was a report where Russia is willing to send her back in a trade for this Victor Bout guy. Now, Victor Bout was a notorious arms dealer nicknamed the Merchant of Death that is in one of our prisons, and they want him for her. Now, to your question, I guess it would be like if it was Kevin Durant or what have you, maybe the asking price would be like a chess player or something as opposed to this Merchant of Death. Yeah. But, yeah, the whole thing is odd. It's really strange.
Yes. Trevor Reed, a former U.S. Marine, recently released after 3 years in Russian captivity, has called the U.S. government to negotiate a prison swap, would bring home Paul Phelan, a former Marine, and Brittney Griner. Okay? And in return, they're like, yeah, give him this Victor Bout guy who's serving a 25-year sentence and who Russia has floated as a possible candidate for the swap. One, that's not a fair trade. We got somebody she had a little weed with her, and she's getting traded for the Merchant of Death.
That is correct.
Yes.
That is not a fair trade.
That's like I used to bring Braunschweiger and mustard sandwiches to school, and if a kid had Oreos, imagine me trading Braunschweiger for Oreos.
Well, the fact that you even have to trade for somebody is just like, why are we trading? You either go through a process of the legal system and they're either free or not free, or trade?
John, you're looking at this from a realistic perspective. You're
Sorry
not
about
in Russia.
that.
You're not in Russia. It is.
I mean, the way you laid out that trade, multiple people for one guy. The only thing you left out was Victor Bout and a Russian to be named later.
Russian to be named later. That's funny. Let's get to Dan Byer and figure out what else is going on. Dan, what do you got?
I don't know where to go. Isn't it more? It's not. But it's not about the popularity of the WNBA.
I think it is.
You think? But if John Ramos was captive or being held captive for weed over there, nobody
would die. He's going to die in there.
Yeah, nobody would be talking about it.
Right.
Lucas would be maybe,
but I don't think that should be our main
Kawhi Leonard
takeaway, though, that the WNBA isn't as popular as some people may want it to be because Brittney Griner's. I think
it's a terrible story. Terrible. Whatever your feelings about marijuana are, whatever, dude. She's in jail for nothing in Russia instead of being stateside and playing. It's a and she plays and has won Russian championships, right? So it's a terrible story, and it gets some attention. I'm just saying, imagine if it was an NBA player. Our entire approach would be different, would it not?
Sure. It absolutely would be different. If it was, yeah, I don't know if that's the hill that I want to be like, see, the WNBA isn't as popular because of this. There are other things at stake.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.